Hello, and just wanted to take a little bit of time to go over the basics of HTML as far as some information behind it. So the previous video went through and used the HTML to create this basic website. But I wanted to provide a little bit more information that I think will be beneficial. I just wanted to go over the learning objectives one last time, make sure that everyone feels like you're competent within each of these areas for this lesson. So there they are. Be sure that if you don't understand or feel like you can complete one of these learning objectives, that you revisit these videos, and then you can always reach out to me. So I did want to go through some lecture slides briefly for this HTML introduction. So what is HTML? In the previous video, I brought up that it stands for Hypertext Markup Language. And this is the standard language for creating web pages. It doesn't matter what country you're in, what browser you're using. This is very universal. And it provides the structure for web pages. It's the elements, it's the building blocks for your HTML pages. We have different elements that we include in our websites, and these are what we call tags. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in depth later on in this lecture. These HTML tags label pieces of content like headings, paragraphs, tables, unordered list, ordered lists. Those are all things that we have gone over in the previous tutorial. So you should be familiar with some of them already. In our browsers, so if we're using Adobe Chrome or Google Chrome or Firefox, whatever it is, they're not displaying the tags, but they use that information to create something visually. So something on the front end. So like we had in the previous exercise, you're not seeing all the code. You're seeing what the code produces. So this should look familiar. This is just a simple HTML document. So we have the doc type, HTML, head, tag, our title tag, body tag, and then our closing tag. So should look very familiar. So let's take a look at what all of these tags are. So the doc type is this tag that's letting the web browser know what type of HTML we're using. So there's different types of HTML out there. It continuously increases in the amount of tags and how the browser views this code. So just letting it know, hey, we're using HTML, and it's going to use the latest edition, which is HTML5. The next tag that we saw, HTML, this is the root element for an HTML page. So we're saying, hey, we're beginning this HTML code. Now the head is different from a header. I don't want anyone to get confused. Within the head, this is where we can put things like metadata. So this is things like the title. This is things that will help for search engine optimization. So all this information that is going to help web browsers and search engines find the best fit for a search. A lot of that can be found in the head. Talked about the title. That is what appears at the top in the tab. Whenever you're creating your tab or go to a new website, that title will appear there. The body is everything that you can see within that web page. So you won't see the head information, you won't see the doc type, but you will see everything that occurs inside the head tags. We talked about H1, we talked about P for paragraph tag, so those are some of the things that we saw. Next thing is HTML tags explained. So this is kind of the basic workup. So within these brackets we have the tag name, and then in between the opening and closing tags we have whatever the content is. So if we're doing a paragraph, so it'd be open bracket P, close bracket, the content that we want to be within, that we want to be as a paragraph, and then we have this open bracket with a slash, and then the tag name and the closing bracket. So that last part of the tag closes it out. And so yeah, hopefully everyone is comfortable using those so far from the previous example. So web browsers. There's a bunch of different web browsers. Some that are the most used: Chrome, Internet Explorer, Firefox, Safari. Their job is to read HTML and display the content. And so like we had previously said, the browser does not display the HTML tags, but it uses them to determine how they're going to display the document. So right here we have my first heading, my first paragraph, where right here we have all the HTML markup. So that's what the web browser's job is to translate that into what we see here. And I talked about what you can see, what's in the browser. So here's kind of a basic page structure. So within HTML we have the head. Within the head we have the title. Then we go into the body, which is within the HTML tag, and then we have everything that we can see on the web browser. The H1, the paragraph, whatever it may be. And then we have the closing body tag and then the closing HTML tag. So it'll be very beneficial for you to think about everything that you create with HTML in this structure. So what is inside of certain tags will always be very beneficial for you to think about things that way. So let's take a look at the very first thing that is in there, which is this doc type declaration. So the doc type represents the document type and helps browsers to display web pages correctly. You only need it once at the top of the page. We don't need a closing tag for it, and it's just letting us know that we're using HTML5. So I brought up HTML5 and mentioned how everything progresses. So here's just a brief table that shows you the versions of HTML that we've been through. It's going to continue to grow. You're going to have to keep up to date with HTML if you're going to continue to do web design. You can see that it doesn't move crazy fast, but there's definitely improvements along the way. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more information about how certain things work as far as HTML. Keep working on these lessons and keep going through these on your own time. It's going to be very important that you get a good understanding of HTML outside of class.